if we got along a lot better and we were clear about our expectations and our ambitions, I think everybody would align a lot more. It's always hard because I'm not saying business owners are the reason that people leave or that, terrible candidates are the reasons that you don't get the tenure. I think it's a mix. I think it's setting the expectations, it's aligning with the expectations versus reality. You can't be in a property management role and work from home every day. That's not going to happen. Do you have autonomy and flexibility? Of course, but have that conversation. So I know it's a hard way of answering, but I think that the tenure is directly related to us not being able to articulate what it is that we need in our business. And this comes from property management to sales. If we don't know what we need, we're never going to solve a problem.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of the Property Management Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. You know that feeling when you're riding a roller coaster and you've got the climb and you're bracing yourself, you're getting excited, the anticipation's building, and then you have that sudden drop and it's terrifying. And just when you think it's over, there's another loop and another twist and another turn. Well, that pretty much sums up my entire journey with recruitment in real estate. Honestly, I have been riding the recruitment roller coaster from day one. Hands in the air, eyes closed, screaming or crying half the time. And let me tell you, it's absolutely exhausting. The time, the money, the training, the energy, all poured into finding the right people, only to have them walk right back out that revolving door. And I've questioned everything. Should I rebuild the entire business model? Can I work any harder? Can I create better incentives? Can I make my culture shinier? Be a different leader? I honestly tried it all. And when none of it really worked, I did what a lot of business owners do. I blamed myself. Maybe it's me. Does that sound familiar? The truth is, recruitment is one of the biggest pain points in real estate. And honestly, no one's cracked the code. Well, not really, until now. Because my guest today believes there is a better way. Meet Katie Cotton, a dynamic leader who's redefining how we approach recruitment and technology in real estate. She's the managing director of Recruit RE and brings serious vision and innovation to the table with her new recruitment platform. She's been the brains behind strategic recruitment, retention, and recognition programs that are actually working, and she's passionate about creating change that lasts. With a powerhouse background at Ray White and Remax, Katie has built a reputation for real growth, real leadership, and real results. Today, she's sharing exactly how we can get off the roller coaster and finally start building teams that stick, thrive, and evolve with us. So buckle up, or maybe unbuckle, and let's dive on in. Katie Cotton, thank you so much for joining me on the Property Management Podcast. We go way back, and I'm super grateful that you are joining me here today. And before we dive in, can you share with our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the industry?
I sure can. Thank you for having me, firstly. So I've been in the industry now for, oh gosh, nearly 10 years. I've obviously known you a lot longer, even pre-real estate days. Spent most of my career in a, tech product space to begin with, moved into franchising, focused heavily on recruitment, and now have my own thing with Recruit RE.
That is amazing. Yes, our kids went to school together. Actually, that's how we first met. I think that was how we first met. Yeah.
Yeah, primary school.
Yeah. My goodness. Back in the Sacred Heart days.
Back in those days, and the girls rekindled when they went out one night drinking,
That
actually.
that's right. That's right. Oh my God. Now, what recruitment, look, honestly, recruitment has been the biggest nightmare for me in business, and I'm sure I'm not alone when I say this. I'm sure it's the same for a lot of other business owners as well. It costs a lot of money, it wastes a lot of time. Why do you think that recruitment feels like such a never-ending roller coaster in our industry?
It's a great question, by the way. It's a never-ending saga, is probably the best way that I'm going to put it, because you're right, it is time consuming and it is expensive. And I think sometimes we often get caught up in the wrong detail when it comes to recruitment. We often get caught up in trying to find that perfect skill set to fit a role as opposed to finding the perfect person to fit the role. And so it just creates this never-ending battle. I think a lot of people talk about culture now. I talk about this a lot. And what is culture? Saying that you have a good culture doesn't necessarily mean that it is a good culture. I think it's hard because we're in a world where everybody is different. 2025 leading into 2026, everybody wants different things. Everybody values different things. And we struggle to get that across or articulate what it is that we're after, which means we just have this continuous battle every time.
Yeah, the revolving door of people coming and leaving our businesses. And you're right, often we do try to fit square pegs into round holes, and and it doesn't work either. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see in, and I'm obviously, my audience is mainly property management, but in real estate and as a whole, what are some of the common hiring mistakes that you're seeing people make?
I think not telling people what the salary is. I understand that we try and keep that secret, but the reality is, if you want good people to join your business, there is going to be a monetary value that's associated with that. Often a hiding of a salary is associated with not wanting to share that within your own team about what people are being paid. But I think that's probably one of the biggest or most crucial mistakes that we make, because we will limit the people that reach out to us when we do not tell them what the salary range is.
Yeah, sorry, keep going. Yeah.
Oh, no. And I think too, the other thing is maybe talking about things in a role that aren't necessarily important or focusing too much on a detail. I see an awful lot of people make these job roles or job descriptions that they put, and it may be on Seek, it may be on social media, and it's a lot of information or different titles because they want to associate a really fancy title with a role. People just want to know what the role is.
I would agree with that as well. You see all these roles I've never heard of popping up, and all these skill sets, especially in property management. And you see all these different, skill sets. The reality is you got to be good at conflict resolution. You've got to be good at negotiation. You've got to be good at customer service. They are the three core skill sets that any property manager that needs to have. Tick those boxes. Of course, there's then your skills competency as well. But again, do you know what property management software do you know? Tick. What, it's not that complicated, but yet these ads make it sound so complicated. And and I think that confuses a lot of people, and it probably turns a lot of people, good people who may not have thought about and may have some of those skill sets, but may not have been use them in property management. It stops them from coming across into the industry. And one of the things that I think I would do if I started again, and please talk me out of it if I do say that I'm going to start another property management business in the next couple of years, is I did this before I left. I would hire outside of the industry. And I know that sounds really bad, but we need to bring more people into the industry, and some of the older skill sets are no longer relevant, and a lot of the older school property managers don't want to change to the way that we want to run businesses in this new digital world. Do you see that as a bit of an issue as well? Like that there's the old guard, there's the new guard.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is, how does an agency determine, do they go the new guard or do they work with the old guard?
I agree with you, by the way, in terms of new to industry. I'm probably one of the most passionate people out there in terms of trying to bring that new energy in. Real estate, and I always say this as respectfully as I can, it's not hard. We can teach real estate. There is a lot of legislation around it, but it is not unteachable. It is not something we cannot share with others. So it's easy for us to find someone with the energy to come in who wants to adapt to the goals or the ambitions of the business or the business owner than it is to fight that battle of having someone come in saying, I only want to do it my way. I think we've learned that there's so many different ways to do things, and you just have to be open to it. No one's saying that you have to completely change everything that you're doing, but if you come in and you shut down that conversation from day one, it is going to always be challenging for either that person to move on to a different role, or even for a business to have someone join them to fit in with that. I remember in my Ray White days, Jason Andrew used to say all the time when we spoke about recruitment, would you join you? And I think that stems further than just if you're a recruitment role or if you're a business leader. If you asked a property manager in a team, would you join you in that team? If the answer was no, there's a problem. Why wouldn't they join you? We need to be more open. We need to accept people coming in. We need to acknowledge that there will always be change. Legislation's changing. 60 years ago, you probably wouldn't have seen all of this change. It just stayed the same, but it's there, it's happening. Adapt. And I think life in real estate will actually be a better journey for people that accept that.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw that through COVID, didn't we? Where agencies that had been early adapters of the technology, like DocuSign, for example, and virtual inspections, fared and had an easier transition through COVID than other agencies who had, stuck their head in the sand and didn't want to change with the new technology that was coming out. So do you think then that the high turnover in recruitment is a recruitment issue, or a leadership issue, or both? What's your take on that?
I always think it does stem from leadership, always. However, it is both. You can't always blame it on one party and not acknowledge that it could potentially be another. I think when you look at the longevity of people joining your business, often they leave because it's not what they think. And that could be because of what we spoke about earlier, the ad, or it could be that what we've portrayed the business to be is not. I think we see in property management, Kylie, all the time that there is often, like a head of department in a business that does kind of dictate everything that happens inside of that business. And when we have people coming in and we're trying to join that, we can't have too many of the same personality. That's why I think I'm so passionate about the energy. You have to have people join your team that it's going to allow it to grow, not to say, well, if we just get the same people and we just put them all in a room. So I think leadership is a big thing. We are now in a world where a lot of business owners do understand property management. Back, even 10 years ago, they didn't necessarily have that oversight or understanding. They do now, but I think property managers, again, are kind of stuck in their way. So what the business owners are learning are this new way of doing things and how we can adapt technology. And the property managers are sitting on the other side going, but we've always done it this way. And this is the way we have to do it, because how would you know you're a business owner? If we got along a lot better and we were clear about our expectations and our ambitions, I think everybody would align a lot more. It's always hard, because I'm not saying business owners are the reason that people leave, or that, terrible candidates are the reasons that you don't get the tenure. I think it's a mix. I think it's setting the expectations. It's aligning with the expectations versus reality. You can't be in a property management role and work from home every day. That's not going to happen. Do you have autonomy and flexibility? Of course, but have that conversation. So I know it's a hard way of answering, but I think that the tenure is directly related to us not being able to articulate what it is that we need in our business. And this comes from property management to sales. If we don't know what we need, we're never going to solve a problem.
Absolutely. And I'm coming from the position of a business owner who has had that revolving door of property managers. And I always looked at it from my perspective, like, in the early days, my business was run very much in chaos. I had no idea what I was doing. Then I identified that, and then I worked on my systems and processes and procedures, and then I worked on, becoming an attraction agency. What would people want? And this is the sales agents as well as property managers. What would people want to come and work with us? What do they need to see? What do they need to feel to come and work with us? And then how do I need to lead better, and how do I need to show up better? And, I've done the KPIs, I've done the monthly meetings, and to be honest, completely transparent, none of it worked for me. And I can only point the finger back at me and go, well, clearly there's something that I'm not doing right, whether it's recruiting the wrong people or attracting the wrong people. And it just never, and that recruitment and staffing was a large part of why I ended up selling my business. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I'm sure there's a lot of business owners probably listening thinking exactly the same thing. This recruitment is so hard. So do you think the old way of recruiting is dead or dying? And what does the future of recruiting and building our teams look like?
If you're ready to be a super organised, focused and productive property manager, buckle up, because Colmio is about to revolutionise the way that you work. Colmio is the driving force behind property management excellence in residential real estate. Now picture this, a comprehensive end-to-end system designed to be the beating heart of your property management tasks, manage your properties, owners and tenants, and handle payments, inspections, and even marketing listings without leaving the platform. Colmio is designed to be an all-in-one solution to all your property management needs. And here's the game changer. Colmio isn't just software. It's been awarded the most innovative prop tech scale up in 2023. Yes, you heard it right. Colmio has been recognised for their groundbreaking approach to property management software. How good is that? So property managers, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, dive into the future of property management with Colmio. You can book in a demo with the team today and go in their weekly draw for a Prezi gift card worth $100. All you need to do is to head to the link colmio.com/thatpropertymum, and Colmio is KOLMEO.
Look, there's always going to be a place when we look at recruitment or employment. I don't think that there's a separation between the two. You could advertise a role, someone applies for that role, you offer them a job, they move in, or you recruit, you build that relationship with someone who you think is amazing, you have that relationship, and then they choose to join you. But I do think that there has to be a better way of doing it. We cannot continue in a space of recycling the same people throughout the industry. We cannot place them in one role and then retarget them 12 months later. I think that is a huge reason why there's a high turnover. Particularly in property management, it's really quite appealing to be offered even a small amount of money extra to what you are. That's very tempting for someone to do that. And I think if we stopped recycling of people and we stopped having that targeting, it would allow people to have longer tenure in their businesses. But also, I think we have to start aligning with what people are being paid in roles. We certainly cannot have people in roles being paid less and then putting a new role up and that being higher for the same role. We have to have transparency across the board. I think in terms of Seek ads, if we look at that, it's very expensive. This is the time of the year. People are always going to struggle, Kylie, at this time of the year to recruit or employ into their business. Why? Because Christmas is coming up and people want their leave and they want that stability at this time of the year. And you are asking them to leave that and come and start somewhere fresh when this is the time of the year to have a break. But what it does mean is that January becomes the highest turnover in real estate. Why? Because people have time to think. People have time to go, is this where I want to be? We have a mass exit in real estate at that time of the year. So, you will always have that happening where there will be people that decide it's no longer for them, but you also, on the flip side, have it where they go, I don't want to work here anymore. People spend a lot of time working. There has to be something in it for them. And that doesn't always mean equity or shareholding or more money. It could just be flexibility. It could be, how do we create these spaces where people are happy to come to work, where there is that autonomy and there is that flexibility, which is often worth more than money. So I think it's not about it being dead. I just think that we need to look at things differently. What are we offering? What's on the table for people? As a business owner, you could ask the same question: would you join you? Like, if you wouldn't join you, if you were erratic every day and yelling and screaming and carrying on, why would anyone want to join your business? The problem is the people inside of our business are the people talking about our business. So if the people inside of our business are unhappy, they're going to tell the people outside of our business. It makes it really hard to recruit or employ.
Yeah. Sorry, can we just pause for a second? My dogs are just barking.
Yes.
The postman's coming.
Yes, the good old postman.
Yeah.
I couldn't even hear them, by the way.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. So I think that what you just said then, I think we definitely need to find a new way. And if you find it, let me know, because I might start again. But talk to me about some of the ways that you are stepping up in this recruitment space and solving one of the biggest problems in the industry at the moment.
So Recruit RE was obviously built on the basis of, Seek not necessarily being the most efficient way of doing things or the affordability of recruiters. I think, there will always be a place for recruiters, and, I will never, ever be disrespectful about the role that they play in the industry. But I do think, someone calling you and offering you a brand new sales associate and asking you to pay $8,000 as a recruitment fee is unreasonable. So the idea of Recruit RE was to have a space where every role in real estate can be advertised. It is a subscription model, which allows them to have unlimited job ads, as opposed to paying now, $1,000 per job ad. I've actually been doing some testing at the moment, and it's been so interesting. Seek get up there at the moment and they talk about you'll get 18 candidates. You'll have 18 high quality candidates by selecting this ad. Untrue.
Not a surprise.
No surprise. We can't offer that. You can't tell people that you're going to get a set amount. It depends on the business. It depends on the role. It depends on the offering. Like the title, do people understand it? Do they know what it means? Do they know what they'll be doing? Who are they working with? So Recruit RE was designed to have a transparent space for both employers and candidates. And look, it's still very early stages, but I think everyone is open. Everyone's open to have a different option, just like every other facet of real estate, because they know that Seek's not great. They know that they don't have it in their P&L to be able to spend all this money on recruiter fees. So what bridges that gap in the middle?
All right. So tell me a little bit about RE Recruit and how does it work?
So from a candidate perspective, if we look at that, so any role in real estate, so we're talking about, from receptionist to sales admin, property management, BDM, sales associates, salespeople, they can set up a profile. So it's no different to what you would do on Seek. Everybody would have a profile. You set it up, you put in, your interests and your experience, and then you have the ability to see all of the roles that a business owner will then advertise. So they'll put up the roles. You can say, yes, I want to apply for this. Your profile's already set up. So it's pretty easy. You apply. From an employer perspective, what we've tried to do is integrate, or what we've done, I should say, is we've integrated some technology to allow the shortlisting process to be a lot more automated. So we can shortlist via a resume coming in and filtering via those requirements that a business is looking for. So specifically, it might be a registration certificate, 3 years experience in property management. And that might be enough for a resume to go through and us to say, okay, this person will be shortlisted. The other thing that we've done, because time is so important, like what I've learned about Seek is it's time consuming. You need someone in that role to do it. Whereas we need something that becomes more automated and seamless so that you're not spending weeks on end trying to employ people into your business.
And then run the business and do all the other stuff that
And there's always other things, right, that are happening. But what we've done is integrated with a company called Vidi. And Vidi are phenomenal. And so what it does is allow us to ask 5 online interview questions when you're shortlisted. And that is then sent as a 3-minute video to the person or the hiring person that's responsible. And the reason we do that is that there's no point in interviewing someone that you know is not suitable. And that comes in both areas, right? Like, not every role is for that person. Not every business is for, that person. Like, it works both ways. But having those interview questions really quick, off the cuff, we're not using ChatGPT. Like, I love the ChatGPT versions. I think that they're wonderful. But when you're looking at an interview perspective, you need to be yourself. You need to have that emotion. You need to be answering honestly and truthfully to people about, what you're after. So it allows that process to happen seamlessly, and then it can be an interview arranged from there. So the business owners or the hiring manager are not spending all of this time kind of interviewing everybody, because they go, oh, we don't want to miss any opportunities, so we'll interview all 15 candidates. That's a lot of time, right? Like, you're going to do that across 2 or 3 days. Who has that time? So that's the best way that I looked at describing it was, it's Seek for real estate with the features of a recruiter. As I said, there will be roles, if you've got a high level role that you're looking, maybe it's a general manager, maybe it's an operations manager, maybe it's someone to come in, slightly different, that's got a much higher salary. Maybe you do want a recruiter to do that because you need it to be way more personalized. However, with the turnover in real estate at the moment, it's not affordable to keep doing that in both areas, whether it be Seek or whether it be recruiters. But Seek, 3 Seek ads, $3,000. Like, it's wild.
I recruited 3 property managers, 2 property managers and 1 assistant property manager before I sold my business, and they lasted less than 6 months.
Yeah.
And I think they were $8,000 each. And I tried to negotiate with the recruiter to replace them, because I was selling then, that there was no refund. I think I had negotiated 50% back if they didn't last for the 6 months.
Yep.
But that was in the fine print, was the condition that I then recruited again through them.
Yes.
But I was selling by that stage. So it's
with that
hard.
process is that you're then not top priority. If they get a really amazing candidate, they're going to try and place that candidate where they're going to get paid. They've already been paid for you. So, that's the hard part about it. You no longer become the priority at that point for putting the best candidate in front.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And I think, and I'm sure the recruiters, and not dissing recruiters here, but I'm sure they're very savvy business people as well. So they know that if they can then put that person into another agency 6 months later, and the property manager is going to get an extra $10,000 a year, they're going to jump ship if they're not 100% happy and ingrained in the business they were already in. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle. And I think the way that you are setting out to change this is really refreshing. And it's definitely something that has been needed for a very long time. So when is it launching? What can we expect? And how can people sort of get involved or find out more information about your app?
So we will launch early next year. So that is the intention. We're in the process of doing some testing at the moment. So we were, very lucky to have some business connections that I have, come on board, give us some roles, let us test that process. So it was live in New South Wales for a period of time. We went through some updates, made it all pretty and aesthetically pleasing again. And the plan will be next year. So for a business owner, it's a web app. So you can just go on there via the website, super easy. From a candidate perspective, I would encourage anybody to download the app. The reason I say to download the app is notifications. So it's a bit like Facebook. It's a bit like Instagram. The notification pops up so you know that it's happening. But it also allows you to store all of your career passport. So you can store your registration certificates, you can store CPD. So you can get reminders of when your CPD is due, because obviously everyone's dates are different. So that's a learning. It's not a problem and it's fine and we're managing and no one needs to worry. But here's an opportunity for you to A, look at jobs, B, store everything associated with that. So I would always encourage them, go to the App Store, download the app, but they can use it via the web app as well, which is just the website. So Recruit RE in the App Store or Google Play, and recruitre.com.au if they want to find out more from a business owner perspective.
Amazing. I said it the wrong way before. I'm sorry. I said Ari. I don't know why. I get a bit dyslexic like that with words and letters and people's names, like Christy and Kirsty. I always get them wrong. So
look, I think I knew what you were talking about.
So Recruit RE is, and I'll share all the links in the show notes anyway for the app and for the web link as well. Now, I love personal development. And I would love to know if you've got a tool, a resource, a podcast, a book that you think will help our audience today.
It's so funny because I did preempt that you may ask for a podcast, and I am the worst. I will listen to these podcasts, but I'm not necessarily a podcast listener in the car or getting ready. I'm a music person. So do you know the best advice, which is what I've done for the entirety of my career, is talk to people. Talk to people and listen. Ask the questions that you want to know. I never knew how to be a BDM, so I asked the questions of people who were BDMs. I didn't know much about property management, so I went and asked the questions, and I took that feedback on board and I implemented it. And I think it's the easiest thing that you can do in this industry. Go and have a conversation with someone that you admire, that you're looking up to, that you may want to not be, but maybe carry some of those similarities or features or skills that they've got, and talk to them.
And what would you say to somebody who is thinking, yeah, that's great, Katie, I would love to talk to people, but I'm too shy, I'm too scared, I'm too intimidated. What is your approach? Because you are amazing at talking to people. And what is and I imagine you've had moments like all of us, we've all got a bit of imposter syndrome and self-doubt. How do we get that confidence to go, hey, Katie, tell me a little bit about how where you are today?
You're like, hello. Do you know Instagram, Facebook? Like, you can message people now. And so you can actually have that conversation. Now, don't get me wrong, it is challenging on those platforms because there are so many spam accounts now. So you need to make sure that you're, dealing with the right person. But I think just message somebody, message them on socials. They can link the profiles and just say, look, I'd love to hear about this. I did it. I have done it in my recruitment days. Like, I use that as an opportunity to talk to people. I love what you're doing on social media. Could we have a coffee? I love what you're doing in this space. Like, could we catch up? I think people are actually more open to it than what we think. We go, oh, we don't want to interrupt anyone, or we don't want to, sound like a strange person, like, talking to somebody. But it's actually quite flattering when someone admires what you're doing. And I would not be where I am today if I didn't take myself out of my comfort zone to actually learn and talk to people. And I don't even mean, don't go into someone and say, how do I be a great BDM? It's not, like, maybe talk about some of the things that they're doing in order to talk to people. There's so many tips that I could share with people now around, if you want to start to target rental properties so that you can grow your rent roll, here are some tips to do that. Ask the right questions and you'll get the right answers. But I think do it whatever makes you most comfortable. But everyone goes to events. People go to, your coffee catch-ups. They'll go to REIQ events. They'll go to conferences. They're the time. It's those social events that allow you to have a conversation with someone around things that interest you.
That's such good advice. So yeah, anyone listening, go out, have some conversations, DM Katie and myself. We're real people. We're happy to have a conversation with you and support your business journey. So yeah, that's great advice. Thank you, Katie. Thank you so much for joining me on the Property Management Podcast. I'll share all your links in the show notes so anyone can reach out to you further. Have an amazing Christmas. Can you believe it? We're heading fast down that track.
I know. I mean, I'm excited. Christmas is my favorite time of the year.
I'm not surprised.
Christmas tree is up. We are ready to go.
Oh my goodness. No, I don't even know where mine is. So
no, thank you for having me. Honestly, a pleasure.
You are welcome. Talk soon.
Thanks.
Can I ask you a quick favor before you leave this episode? Now, we all know how important reviews are for businesses these days, and mine is no different. If you could spare just a minute to follow, rate and review this podcast, it would mean a lot to me. In fact, what would get me super excited is if you share this podcast with someone in the industry who you think might need to hear some of the episodes right now. And if you'd like to find out more about working with me or any of the products I have to help you start, grow, or scale your property management business, head to my website, thatpropertymum.com.au, or check out the links in the show notes.